I'll be meeting the CS in charge of security together with his team to give us the state of containment of insecurity in the entire country, after which then I'll bring a report here in the chamber for members to see. And we want to cover all areas because there are so many statements and petitions regarding security or insecurity for that matter in this country, and we felt it's necessary for us to engage with the entire team and get counter reports on peace and security matters so that we can also appraise this House.
Thank you very much. Now, then we go to the next one by the Honorable Abdul Samad Nasir on police brutality against peaceful demonstrations in Mombasa County. The Honorable Abdul Samad. Okay. So it's a response, but still we would be happy when we see members who, in fact, many a times the chairs are accused when they are not in the House. I think we should treat the members in exactly the same manner when they are not in the House and the statements are being responded to. You know, it's good for them. We would expect them to be asking getting clarifications from the chair. So you don't simply request for a statement and leave it there. So, okay, you can proceed and respond to that one. Probably I will not open it up to too many, interventions because the member is not here himself. Proceed, Honorable Mwadi.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the member for Parliament for Movita constituency sought a statement regarding police brutality against peaceful demonstration by residents of Mombasa in expressing their views on ongoing conflicts in the Middle East. In particular, the member sought to be informed on the following: that could explanation be given on the plans put in place to end the manner in which police are handling peaceful demonstrations in Mombasa County to allow them freedom of expression as stipulated in Article 4 of the Constitution of Kenya, and two, whether the Cabinet Secretary could provide an assurance on the manner the police could handle the residents of Mombasa to express the emotions in solidarity with the Palestinians. The response is as follows, Honorable Speaker. The government has, as guided by the Public Order Act, has measures outlined on how to handle peaceful demonstrations and allow freedom of expression as follows. 1, prior holding of consultative meetings with organizers before allowing such demonstrations. 2, agree with organizers on the route for the demonstrations. And 3, ask the demonstrators to provide their own security plans during demonstrations. Honorable Speaker, residents wishing to express their solidarity with the Palestinians should be guided by existing laws and regulations. However, the demonstrations have to observe and adhere to the Ministry of Health COVID-19 containment protocols and regulations. The police, Honorable Speaker, as follows. 1, the emotions in solidarity with the Palestinians. The response is as follows, Honorable Speaker. The government has, as guided by the Public Order Act, has measures outlined on how to handle peaceful demonstrations and allow freedom of expression as follows. 1, prior holding of consultative meetings with organizers before allowing such demonstrations. 2, agree with organizers on the route for the demonstrations. And 3, ask the demonstrators to provide their own security plans during demonstrations. Honorable Speaker, residents wishing to express their solidarity with the Palestinians should be guided by existing laws and regulations. However, the demonstrations have to observe and adhere to the Ministry of Health COVID-19 containment protocols and regulations. The police, Honorable Speaker, the police officers are trained on how to handle the demonstrators in line with the legal provisions and statutes, and specifically the Public Order Act and as provided for in the Constitution. We wish to state that it is the role of government through the National Police Service to promote and ensure security of citizens, even during legal processions. However, the organizers need to notify the area OCS beforehand for these security arrangements to be put in place. And that's a response, Honorable Speaker. I thank you.
Very well. So then, let's see what Honorable Mwarigi, you want to say something to this? Mwirigi?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I wanted to comment to the first response, but even to this. Mr. Speaker, the people of this republic has the right, as enshrined in the Constitution, Article 37, to demonstrate and picket, Mr. Speaker, and the security is supposed to be provided, Mr. Speaker, for those people who are demonstrating. So it is not right, Mr. Speaker, for the people doing peaceful demonstration to be disrupted by the police officers, to be beaten, Mr. Speaker. It is not right. So it is maybe right for the chairperson or for the CS Interior, Mr. Speaker, to advise the OCS, the OCPD, the regional commissioner also, to devise ways which can guide the demonstrators, Mr. Speaker, when they are out there to demonstrate. Thank you.
Okay. So, honorable members. Okay, Honorable Bukose, again.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, although I don't support the position of the Palestinians because I am pro-Israeli, but those who are demonstrating against the state of Israel, they should be allowed to demonstrate. We have no problem with that.
What is the relevance of that one to this?
If you read the reply, it is talking about those protesting in support of the Palestinians by Abdul Samad, that they were forcefully told, put down not to protest. But I think they should have been allowed to protest. And Honorable Speaker, what I also wanted to comment is what happened in Embu, Honorable Speaker. It is shameful for the police to use brutality and even kill people who are demonstrating following the death of the two young men who were killed by the police. Honorable Speaker, extrajudicial killings in this country.
Demonstrate. Thank you.
Okay. Told put down not to protest. But I think they should have been allowed to protest. And Honorable Speaker, what I also wanted to comment is what happened in Embu, Honorable Speaker. It is shameful for the police to use brutality and even kill people who are demonstrating following the death of the two young men who were killed by the police. Honorable Speaker, extrajudicial killings in this country must come to an end. And any police officer who was responsible must be taken to court, tried, and be jailed according to the laws of the land. So I think the police should not consider themselves as being above the law, that they can use excessive force and kill young people even after the curfew hours, just because you have stayed out of the curfew hours. That is very brutal, that is inhuman, and it's a shame as a Republic of Kenya. That should not happen.
Okay. The Honorable Janet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to comment.
Following the death of the two young men who were.
Relevance of that one to this?
If you read the reply, it is talking about those protesting in support of the Palestinians by Abdul Samad, that they were forcefully told, put down not to protest. But I think they should have been allowed to protest. And Honorable Speaker, what I also wanted to comment is what happened in Embu, Honorable Speaker. It is shameful for the police to use brutality and even kill people who are demonstrating following the death of the two young men who were killed by the police. Honorable Speaker, extrajudicial killings in this country must come to an end. And any police officer who was responsible must be taken to court, tried, and be jailed according to the laws of the land. So I think the police should not consider themselves as being above the law, that they can use excessive force and kill young people even after the curfew hours, just because you have stayed out of the curfew hours. That is very brutal, that is inhuman, and it's a shame as a Republic of Kenya. That
Okay.
should not happen.
Okay. The Honorable Janet.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to comment
advice to the chair is that as you try to address this issue, let us balance so that nobody rights is infringed at whatever cost. Thank you.
Very well. So then we move to the next order. No, sorry. Let's have the Honorable Mwadhi responding to anything that arose out of those.
So that they
What
can
is it,
also-
Honorable Sanko? You have made a very, very reasonable intervention that we should keep safe distance. But the issue of sandwiches here and others, you know, we are in the chamber. Those ones are probably in the other side. But honorable members, kindly, now honorable members, you must keep social distance. Honorable members, you must keep some social distance, and I see some members actually flouting that even as maybe I would help you members to send some of you out so that you can consult better outside there. Honorable Anjala, you will not be allowed at all to flout the social distance requirement. Thank you very much. Let's proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Alleged sandwich came up is that I agree with members. No police officer who should use excessive force, and that at the same time, Honorable Speaker, to let members know that we also have IPOA, which is also offered by this committee, and we take seriously the reports that come from IPOA in regard to police excesses on what the members of the public are doing, or if there are any brutalities. But at the same time, to inform members that it's good for anybody wishing to demonstrate or picket to liaise with authorities as alluded to by the CS, so that, one, they can get security, and also the security of those people along which route they will be passing. But generally, Honorable Speaker, we bring this also to the attention of the CS in our meeting with his security team. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mwadhi, and you've done very well. Present to answer, to respond to all the statements, that is good. And the members, you must keep up. If you do not do that in future, we probably will not ask the chairs to respond. So do we have any other? I'm not aware. Probably that was supposed to be coming in the afternoon. Which one is that, the Honorable Mwadhi? Because to the best of my knowledge, what we were to do in this morning, we have done.
Honorable Speaker, I had 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon.
Which one is that?
This one is the one that was requested for by the member for Turkana East constituency, Ali Mohammed Lokiru.
You see where the problem is? Whereas I have no problem with that, the members are guided by what is in the appendix of our order paper. So if he is not going to be here, probably will be disadvantaged because he probably did not know that it was going to be responded to. So unless he's here, I would request that you do it in the afternoon.
But let me also say this, that my practice, and I think is a good practice, Honorable Speaker, is that before we read and take it to table room, we normally consult the member and they accede to us, our request to give the statement. So in this case, unless it was not listed.
No, it's not listed. I've just confirmed.
That's fine. Then
positively that it was not listed. It's been actually listed for the afternoon.
All right.
Now, well, it's good that you are being very efficient.
Yes.
But the problem is, if the member had gone through the order paper and seen in the appendix of the afternoon order paper that is going to be then, we will actually disadvantage him. So kindly be available in the afternoon to reply to that.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm properly guided.
Thank you. So we go to the next order.
Order number 8, the Alcoholic Drinks Control Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 70 of 2019, second reading, resumption of debate.
This particular one, we had 33 minutes left, so the mover should be ready to respond anytime, 10 minutes before the end of these 33 minutes. So let me see if there are members who want to speak to this one. I see the Honorable Pasaris. You want to speak to this one? Well, but you had placed your intervention, or what was it about? Okay. So then, for members who want to contribute to this particular one, can I get an indication by you from the main slot? So I see only one member interested in this, Honorable Murigi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, first I want to thank Honorable Osoro for bringing this bill here, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the advertisement which are done through our televisions, Mr. Speaker, concerning alcohol, Mr. Speaker, the timings, the way the advertisements are done, Mr. Speaker, are supposed to be set in a way that they are advertised when the children are already gone to sleep, Mr. Speaker. Because those advertisements encourages the young generation, Mr. Speaker, to engage in alcohol, Mr. Speaker, in early age, and even in misbehaving, Mr. Speaker, because their age, Honorable Speaker, does not allow them to engage in alcohol. So there ought to be maybe some regulations which regulate the way advertisements are done, Mr. Speaker. And when those regulations are put in place, Mr. Speaker, whoever goes against those regulations, Mr. Speaker, that person should be charged, maybe in the court of law, so that at least we can manage the way advertisements are done. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, The selling of the alcohol. I understand that there are some guidelines, Mr. Speaker, on the people who are supposed to purchase or who are supposed to be allowed to take alcohol. But nowadays, Mr. Speaker, anybody can purchase alcohol, Mr. Speaker. Anybody can go to those bars, Mr. Speaker, and drink the way you want, Mr. Speaker, regardless of the age, Mr. Speaker. So also, there must be some regulations, Mr. Speaker, and some penalties, Mr. Speaker, which are set for those who sell alcohol, Mr. Speaker, to underage children, Mr. Speaker, the age of 18 and below, Mr. Speaker, so that at least we can bring sanity in this country, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, maybe my conclusion, Mr. Speaker, I would like to urge this House, when we pass this, Mr. Speaker, to be enacted so that at least it can be followed to the latter, and also our young generation, Mr. Speaker, can grow well. And maybe if there is something which can be encouraged to our young generation, Mr. Speaker, is first to know God first, because those other earthly things, Mr. Speaker, will come later, or they are existing there. Mr. Speaker, with that, I beg to support. Thank you.
Okay, the Honorable, no, I mean, I can see I almost gave the Honorable Osoro, but Osoro should be now to respond. I see no other member interested in speaking to this. So, again, Honorable Pasaris, I had given you an opportunity. You said you do not want to contribute on this one. So you have.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. But Mr. Speaker, you know, when you're being attacked for all manner of issues, when you're not as guilty as you are, it throws you off balance. So Honorable Songkok today has been on to attack me on various issues, including saying that I was being sandwiched or I was sandwiching. So, Mr. Speaker, on serious matters.
I don't think Honorable Songkok was more interested about you. I think he had an issue with Honorable Wanjala.
Honorable Wanjala was definitely sitting on a chair that is not marked, and he's since moved. Yes, so, he's since moved, but it was only Pasaris that I was hearing.
No, I think Songkok had some issues, but actually it was Honorable Wanjala. Yes, and he is known. So let's proceed.
No, Mr. Speaker, I agree. COVID is very serious, and us as members of Parliament have to actually adhere to COVID protocols. And we're all wearing our masks. And unfortunately, with the mask and because of the low tone, sometimes we have to get close to each other. So the social distancing of 1 meter will mean that the house will be very noisy. So I think as long as our masks are put on well, and we are able to, to talk to each other, because it's necessary for us to communicate as well in low tones. So, Mr. Speaker, I stand to support the Alcohol and Drinks Control Amendment Bill brought to the National Assembly. And I actually, I'm very proud of Honorable Silvanus Osoro for bringing up this bill. It is really a serious matter. Alcohol and drugs are really ravaging our youth. When we are talking about the hustlers, as we call them, most of the Kenyans right now are actually lost because of alcohol and drug. And the reason, it's because it's been made so lucrative, it's so attractive. And then also our children, when we're sitting as parents watching television with children who are younger, and at the timing that we're watching the children's programs, to have an alcohol commercial come in, or when you're driving your children to school, and that also comes in, you all discussions and contents that are not really good for parents and children to have at the same time. I think we are actually damaging our children, and we're making it very difficult for us to bring up children for tomorrow. Also, in terms of the content, nudity is normally being used. You know, you're trying to make this product very sensuous. And we can see today our young children, I mean, over 200,000 children during the COVID pandemic period and lockdowns got pregnant. And I feel that some of these things that are happening to our society, we have to look at a broader prospect. And we have to agree that when we want to communicate with adults, we communicate with adults during the time that adults are the audience. But when we want to communicate with adults, and then we're putting it at a time when the children are actually with their parents, I think we're doing wrong. So if we want to have a society that the morals are higher, we need to make sure that we make the relevant authorities, including the CS, to be a mandatory person to approve the content and the visuals. It's not just the content, it's also the visuals that are used to actually depict the attractiveness of alcohol. Alcohol is actually supposed to be something that is consumed by people over 18 here in Kenya. But if you look at America, alcohol is sold to children over 21. I wish, and I will try and see if we can actually raise the age for alcohol consumption to 21. And when it comes to adverts, we're not just talking TV, electronic. Even in the restaurants, some of the food courts, we have to actually make sure that the food courts do not have advertisements that are seductive and luring children into wrong behavior in the food courts, because food courts are places that parents go. So these advertisements should be put, the point of sale advertisement should be put purely in bars and in clubs. But I feel we also as a country have to ensure that we protect the minors, because we're exposing them to too much. And we know that YouTube exposes our children to a lot. We should also look at the content and how we can manage advertisements that are also exposed to our children. Educate our parents on how we can put various censures on the children's electronic media, because it's an all-rounder. We can't just look at one area. And I absolutely support the bill. Thank you.
Now you see how good a contribution you are going to make. Now, I think we now we have the mover to respond, because everybody else seems to have spoken.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Although Honorable Ditmas Barasa has requested me 1 minute to make a contribution.
No, let me ask you, are you the...
I am moving you through the chair.
You want to contribute?
No, I'm responding. I'm replying.
You are responding, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, because you are talking about Ditmas Barasa. Where is Ditmas Barasa?
No, he sought 1 minute from me, donation, and I wanted to request you to...
No, we don't have a problem with giving out time. In fact, you could give him yourself. But since I have given you now, you are free to donate to any member, because we have not cut debate.
Okay.
We do not cut debate on this one. So you can give the Honorable Barasa if you wish.
Okay.
And actually, unfortunately, you should have requested. We were looking for members who want to speak to this, so you should have gotten more time. But now that you did not request at that point, probably you don't even have a card. Just have the 1 minute that you are given by your colleague. Did you say 5 minutes? If you do 5 minutes, then the Honorable Osoro would have five minutes remaining.
I said 2 minutes.
2 minutes. 2 minutes, Honorable Osoro. Not Honorable Didmas.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute. Honorable Speaker, this bill is going to assist this country raise responsible citizens, Honorable Speaker. Much of the decaying morals among our youth population, Honorable Speaker, has got a lot of things to do with what they watch on TV. And ensuring that all advertisement on alcohol must be within the acceptable behavior, Honorable Speaker, is to ensure that 7 years from today, going forward, this country is going to have young people who are going to be very responsible, because we have some things that are completely embarrassing when you are watching them with your children. And even you wonder whether you should switch off the TV or whatever happening. And even as we proceed forward, Honorable Speaker, we should also consider banning, or rather controlling what other international TVs will do, like DSTV, CNN. In Dubai, Honorable Speaker, you cannot watch certain materials even if you have your laptop. They will be blocked. And I think this is a bill that is going to assist this country, especially in the moral upbringing. It's a bill that is whose time has come. And it's a bill that this House, we should unanimously unite to approve it, to support it, Honorable Speaker, because this law is going to ensure that this country is going to lead by an example, and I'm sure that even other countries will come to benchmark on this very law so that they can also improve the well-being of their citizens and their children. Honorable, I thank you. And I thank Honorable Soro for donating me this minute and also for bringing this bill that these are the brains that are required that this country needs to go forward, not even BBI or other things. We need people who are responsible, people who are going to use their brains to make a difference in this country. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you very much.
The Honorable Soro.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. I want from the onset to appreciate all the contributions that have been made by my colleagues in this House. Since we started this motion and the second reading of the Alcoholic Drinks Amendment Bill, number 70 of 2019, last week on Wednesday, I take in and admit the proposals that many of our colleagues made here in regard to further amendments to the particular bill, and I invite them further to review it and bring forth the amendments when we get to the third reading. This clearly shows that we've all fallen victim of embarrassments with very funny content, when very funny content is brought on TV, especially when you are seated with members of the family in the house. It's usually very embarrassing to see somebody dancing naked while advertising alcohol. You know, when you are seated with your teenage kids, it's usually very embarrassing to see that. You actually feel like you need to switch off your TV. So the bill, as I said earlier, sets to review such content, and not just content, but also the timelines that such content should be brought on TV if it must be brought. And that is why I invite the honorable members, when you get to the third reading, the further amendments that most of them proposed, in regard to what should be termed as moral content, be set, of course, and with the punitive measures, like Honorable Millie said, that 500,000 for the defaulters, or rather for those who will, of course, not comply with the law, is a bit lenient, and she felt that we should set higher retributive measures, for purposes of morality, so that we are able to save, the next generation. Several members, of course, said that young families are dying, and their young families are fighting. People are not able to raise their children well because of this alcoholism. And it's upon us now to set the ground earlier, to set people country entirely in through one angle. But at least you can try, even if it's 5%, to limit such content that motivates our young ones, to do some immoral things and to engage themselves in drug abuse. And one such way is by limiting the timelines that this alcohol is brought on our screens, by also directing, or rather regulating, the content that is brought on TV when one is advertising a certain type of a drink, alcoholic drink. Because as I said, sex is not related to alcohol. How they try to twist it and marry them and bring them forth on TV between 8 and 9 when you're seated with your kids, teenage kids, is very confusing. And that is why we are pushing for this. And for that reason, as I thank the honorable members and I invite them for the third reading, as we seek further to review the regulations, I beg to reply. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Very well done, Honorable Soro, but I will defer the putting of the question to such time that the matter will be set down on the order paper again. I direct that we move on to the next business.
Order number 9, the Kenya Deposit Insurance Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 43 of 2020, second reading.
Yes, I am informed that the Honourable, for good reason, is not available today. I therefore direct that this business be deferred. We move on to the next one.
Order number 10, the Community Health Workers Bill, National Assembly Bill number 30 of 2020, second reading.
I am also informed that the Honorable Martin Peters Owino is not also in today. I therefore direct that this business be deferred. We move on to the next business.
Order number 11, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 19 of 2019, second reading, resumption of debate.
Yes, this business has a balance of 3 hours, 10 minutes. And do I see interest from the Honorable Ole Sankok? The Honorable Sankok? This is the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 19 of 2019 by the Honorable Florence Mutua.
Let me first of all check if I did contribute, and then I will contribute later.
Very well. The Honorable Mwirigi.
I will contribute later, Mr. Speaker.
I had an interest in the one that the honorable member is not around, Honorable Speaker. So these ones I have no interest.
Very well. The Honorable Pukose. Well, the Honorable Passaris, do you have an interest in this one? Very well. The Honorable Nangabo, member for Trans Nzoia.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm not interested.
You are not interested in this one?
Yes.
It looks like there isn't. The Honorable Ahungu?
No problem.
The Honorable Member for Homa Bay.
What is it?
The Honorable Wanga.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'd like to make my submissions on the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill that has been brought forward by the Honorable Florence Mutua. And Honorable Speaker, I'd like to express my support for this Constitutional Amendment Bill. Honorable Speaker, the issue of nominations is a very thorny issue, Honorable Speaker, within political parties. The timing of nomination, Honorable Speaker, is even thornier. When we changed to the 2010 Constitution, the timing for nominations was changed because the system of nomination earlier was seen to have been abused to reward cronies and cronism. So it was changed so that nominations are done way before elections are held. So the names that are coming to the National Assembly and the Senate are given way earlier. Now, after 2010, this system of nomination way before election has been tested. And what has come about is that very, very sharp, talented politicians who then go all the way to the general election and unfortunately do not win the election are unable to make their way into National Assembly county assembly or senate just because the names have to have been submitted much earlier. And because everybody goes to the election with the intention of winning, nobody wants to be seen to be second guessing. Starting from the presidential candidates. If you're a presidential candidate and you have your name on a nomination list, it will be obvious that you have self-doubt. If you're a candidate at any other level and you put your name on the nomination list, it will be evident that you are doubting that you will win that position. And therefore, people go all the way to the ballot, and the country is much poorer, missing on the talent of very, very talented politicians, especially women politicians, who endure all the way to the ballot. So, Honorable Speaker, I support this amendment. Let's go back, let's tighten the systems for nomination, but go back to a situation where, after election, and we see those who have tried, we can even weight them and see who has, and what the BBI was proposing was when you make the effort, and then the IBC itself weights you as to how many votes you are able to get when you try to run, then from there, you are taken on nomination, not for chronism, not for tokenism, but for effort that you have made in order to get yourself somewhere. So, Honorable Speaker, I thank the Honorable Florence Mutua for working through this constitutional amendment bill and for bringing it. And, Honorable Speaker, I give it my unreserved support. I thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable members, I think it is important to just remind the members what this bill is about. This bill, honorable members, from the memorandum of objects, the principal object of this bill is to amend Article 90 of the Constitution in order to align it with the proposed amendment to Section 35 of the Elections Act, which seeks to change the timing for submissions of party lists by political parties for persons elected under Article 90 of the Constitution from at least 45 days from the date of general election to within 21 days after the date of general election. So that is the purpose, and this is what the Honorable Wanga has contributed to. I'm just reminding the members because there seems to be a dearth of members who wish to make contributions to this. So as the next member contributes, the others can sharpen up and get ready to make useful contributions to it. The Honorable Lesankok.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving this opportunity. You know, Honorable Speaker, most bills, actually all of them, are cross-cutting when it comes to issues of personal disability. So I rarely miss contributing to any bill. I usually come here before you, Honorable Speaker, and I leave after you, Honorable Speaker. That is why I had to go and consult if I had already contributed on this, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, and I oppose this bill. It is malicious and is made in a very bad faith, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, because this bill is not geared towards identifying leadership and giving leadership positions to those who are deserving, but it is now kind of geared towards massaging the egos of the losers, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this bill seeks to amend Section 35 of the party nomination list, Honorable Speaker, under Article 90 of the Constitution, from forwarding the names at least 45 days from the date of the general election to within 21 days after. We will have known the losers, those who have been rejected by masses, those who have been rejected by their constituencies, Honorable Speaker, and counties. And those who have been rejected by the country at large, those who are gunning for presidential election, Honorable Speaker. Now, to massage their ego and try and control their perennial rejection of the outcome of the election, we now need to find a soft landing spot for them, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in every competition, there must be a loser and a winner. If today we say 100 meters, everybody will get a gold medal. You will find Honorable Sangok with his crutches also competing for the 100 meters, as far as everybody get a gold medal. This is what this amendment will do, because there will be no losers, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, most persons with disabilities will be locked out, because most of them will not contest, because of the obvious reasons. Honorable Speaker, marginalized citizen of this country. Persons with disability, Honorable Speaker, women, Honorable Speaker, and some communities, Honorable Speaker, that for obvious reasons they cannot even try to contest. And Molo are only almost 3,000. They can never contest for a position of a member of parliament. But courtesy of nomination, Honorable Speaker, they can get representation and represent their people, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I oppose because, Honorable Speaker, if we have to make this nomination that there are people who have put some effort, Honorable Speaker, we can borrow from our neighboring country, Uganda. Even though the Deputy President was denied travel to Uganda, we can borrow from Uganda, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, there is an electoral college in Uganda to elect representative of persons with disability. And that is what I proposed in BBI. Not even a comma was captured in BBI, because they had their own selfish intention of massaging the egos of losers, Honorable Speaker. You cannot force a loser down the throat of Kenyans simply because they have been rejected 21 days after the general election. Now you parade them and put them in the positions that Kenyans had said they are not equal to Tatas, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, if you went to the school system and you scored an E because there is no F, you are worse than that guy who never went to school because they have not been tested. If you went to an election process and you are defeated, you are worse than that character who was not tested, Honorable Speaker. That was why our Constitution made it that it should be 45 days, so that we don't include the name of the losers, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm a nominated member of parliament, and sometimes I'm at loss. I'm between a hard place and a rock. I don't know if my loyalty will be to my party or to the persons with disability I represent, Honorable Speaker. That is why you see me coming here before the Speaker and leaving after the Speaker, because I have to represent persons with disability who I represent in this House. And since their issues are cross-cutting, I have to contribute to every bill so that I know what is there for persons with disability. This marginalized category of people in this country will never be here in this House. And Honorable Speaker, history will judge me harshly if I am here courtesy of nomination, and I will be party to those who will cut that particular bridge that I use to enter to this House, so that no other person with disability will ever enter this House and will never enter Senate and County Assembly, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, they only have opportunities in the leadership of National Assembly, Senate, and County Assembly. Persons with disability may not have opportunities in being governors and being, Honorable Speaker, the President of this country. But because our Constitution have assisted them to get that position, I will not be party to those who will cut that bridge that they will use to enter this House, Honorable Speaker, because I'll be selfish. Honorable Speaker, I'm retiring from politics in 2022, so that I create a position, an opportunity for another person with disability to get this position. That is what I did when I was the chairman of National Council for Persons with Disability. I retired voluntarily at the age of 38, so that I create an opportunity for another person with disability to showcase their ability beyond disability. We need these people. If we have to, let us have an electoral college that all those marginalized communities can elect their own so that loyalty does not only lie on the party, but also on the people you represent. Honorable Speaker, I totally oppose this bill. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for giving me an opportunity.
The Honorable Sankok, why do you want to limit the scope of the positions that people who are otherwise enabled from, limit them from vying for the president of this country or even for governor? They have an opportunity, and I'm sure there are many people who are for lack of a better word, yes, who wish to vie even for president. I know for certain there is Ruben Kagame, who is my constituent, and he has put his name forward for president, and he's capable. He's capable. So let us not limit people with disability. They have capacity and they have an opportunity to run for these positions. The Honorable Pukose.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for allowing me to contribute to this constitutional amendment bill sponsored by Honorable Florence Mutua. Honorable Speaker, on the onset, I want to support this amendment. Honorable Speaker, when you say that we change it from putting the party list being submitted 45 days before the general election to 21 days after the general election, I think what it means is that we open up the general election competition to everybody, because those who have been put on the party list, more often they don't participate in the general election. They are waiting to be nominated. And therefore, I think it is opening up so that people can compete. And out of those who compete, those who meet the criteria to be nominated should be able to, the parties can now sit and comfortably decide that these are the people whom we think they should not be locked out of parliament, but can be nominated and they go to parliament, Honorable Speaker. You know, my friend Honorable Sangok was saying that nominations are reserved for even minorities. We have minorities like and he mentioned the El Molo. I've never seen an El Molo being nominated since independence in this house. Brunge is not an El Molo, he's an Ndorobo in the Senate. Honorable Sangok, El Molo are found in the shores of Lake Turkana. Lake Turkana in the past used to be called Lake Rudolph. It is in Turkana area, in the lower side of Lake Turkana, that's where the El Molo live. Brunge is a nominated senator from the Ndorobo, who are of the Kipsigis descent. So these are two different communities. And for the first time, the Ndorobos were actually considered. But what we've been seeing most often is that people submit nominations for people whom they have favors. Because you look at people who are being nominated, it is those who have connections. So I think it will be a fair way for us that everybody goes into elections, fight for his position, then 21 days after the general elections, based on the party strength, the party can now decide that so and so is a useful person representing these interests and can be nominated. To me, I think this is a good amendment and should be supported. Honorable Speaker, just on the same breath, Kenya has just finished the Olympics. The world has finished the Olympics, which was in Tokyo. Unfortunately, I have not seen our athletes being welcomed with the bomb and whatever. They have done well, especially Kipchoge. Eliud Kipchoge, who has set a world record for winning twice, back-to-back, the marathon. He can only be compared with other two legends, and this is a legend for us. I think those who are in the Ministry of Sports, they are embarrassing our country. You know, I was watching, I just came from home, and I was watching my place, we get NTV Uganda. I was watching the Ugandan side, who won who also got gold medals. And President Museveni feeded them with the vehicles and other things, and they were being welcomed with the bomb and everything. So why are we behaving the way we are behaving? I think our Ministry of Sports needs to. The athletes have done us proud. We should be proud of our achievement. Being number 19th in the whole world is not a simple achievement. We should be able to welcome our athletes okay.
The Honorable Wangwe, what is out of order? Hold on, the Honorable Kose.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, with all due respect to the very educated Honorable Member, you know, sometimes when you are on Hansard, this is a house of record, and when he misses out on punctuation, Honorable Speaker, it becomes tricky for those of us who will read after him. I understand in English there's no word like feeded or feeded. Past tense of feeding is fed. Therefore, Honorable Speaker, if you can correct that for the purpose.
The Honorable Wangwe are out of order. The word the Honorable Pukose was mentioning was fitted.
Yes.
Yes, and that is what the Speaker got.
You know, Wangwe comes from the Luya community, who are my friends. And when we talk about fit, they think about food. So those are different things. I'm talking about celebrations where they are honored and given presents. And feted. Yeah, those are different words. And it's good you recognize that I'm learned. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I think we just, I was appealing, and Honorable Wanga, you are in the leadership of the House. I think it's a time that our government should take responsibility and respect achievements. It's not simple achievement for Eliud Kipchoge to have achieved what he achieved. With those few remarks, Honorable Speaker, I'm supporting the amendment by the Honorable Florence Mutua. Thank you.
Very well spoken, the Honorable Pukose. And this particular speaker removes his hat in regard to the great Eliud Kipchoge. That is a man worth any day to celebrate. The Honorable Dwale.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, this matter is very simple. The Honorable Florence Mutua is asking this House that we amend Article 90, Sub-Article 2A of the Constitution. And what does that article say? It says, and the Constitution is drafted in such a way that the nomination is to be undertaken, presentation of nomination list by political parties is to be undertaken prior to elections being, and this therefore calls for 45 days before the general election. And once we do that, then we go to Article 35 of the Election Act, I think 2011, number 24 of 2011, which says submission of party list. A political party shall submit its party list to the commission at least 45 days before the date of the next general election. That is what is before this House, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on the onset, it is unconstitutional, and I oppose it. Yes. And the reason why I'm opposing it is that the drafters of the Constitution and the Election Act, and I have been around since 2008, and I have served in 3 political parties. The good people of Dugis, former Dugis and Township, Garissa Township, elected me 3 times in 3 different political parties, starting from ODM to URP, to the moribund Jubilee now, which I'm on my way to UDA. Mr. Speaker, that amendment in the Constitution 2010 and Election Act 35 was trying to clear.
The Honorable Dwale,
yes,
the mask. There was a communication yesterday that we should.
Chair, when the substantive chair was there,
yes,
I have been removing it, until yesterday afternoon.
Yes, he made that communication yesterday.
Yeah, but yesterday I was here. I left here around 5.
Yes.
And the speaker was, and even you were there on the chair.
Yes.
Yeah. But I have no problem, Chair.
Yes, I know you have.
I have no problem,
yes.
but Chair.
Yes.
Proceed. Because if you are vaccinated and the Chair, you can even walk without a mask. So, Chair, but anyway, let me not lose my thoughts because of a mask. So, Chair, these amendments in the Election Act.
The Honorable Dwale, just hold on, just 1 minute, please. The Honorable Yusuf, member for I'll give you, the Honorable Dwale, don't worry, I'll give you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes. Is the Member of Parliament for Garissa Township in order to say the Jubilee Party is a moribund party, the party that brought him into this House, and in which he represents in this particular Parliament? Is he correct, is he right to call it a moribund party? If that is the case, yes, moribund.
The Honorable Dwale, is Jubilee moribund? That is the party that has sponsored you to this House.
Chair, it is not, and I didn't want to lose my thought on the bill, but Chair, I have said it, and I want the member for Kamkunji to hear. I am not a hostage of a political party like you. I have been elected 3 times by 3 different political parties. So if you are a hostage of Jubilee, I want to go on record that Jubilee came with 172 members in the last general election. Today, it has less than 30 or 40. That calls it and defines it as a moribund. You stay with the Jubilee, I have left it. And you cannot, the choice to join and to leave is provided in the Bill of Rights. I'm using the Bill of Rights. So if you are stuck in Jubilee.
Yes, I know you have.
I have no problem, yes. But Chair.
Yes.
Proceed. Because if you are vaccinated and the Chair, you can even walk without a mask. So Chair, but anyway, let me not lose my thoughts because of a mask. So Chair, these amendments in the Election Act.
The Honorable Dwale, just hold on, just 1 minute, please. The Honorable Yusuf, member for I'll give you, the Honorable Dwale, don't worry, I'll give you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes. Is the Member of Parliament for Garissa Township in order to say the Jubilee Party is a moribund party, the party that brought him into this House, and in which he represents in this particular Parliament? Is he correct, is he right to call it a moribund party? If that is the case, yes, moribund.
The Honorable Dwale, is Jubilee moribund? That is the party that has sponsored you to this House.
Chair, it is not, and I didn't want to lose my thought on the bill, but Chair, I have said it, and I want the member for Kamkunji to hear. I am not a hostage of a political party like you. I have been elected 3 times by 3 different political parties. So if you are a hostage of Jubilee, I want to go on record that Jubilee came with 172 members in the last general election. Today, it has less than 30 or 40. That calls it and defines it as a moribund. You stay with the Jubilee, I have left it. And you cannot, the choice to join and to leave is provided in the Bill of Rights. I'm using the Bill of Rights. So if you are stuck in Jubilee, don't drag me, member for Kamkunji, and I'm sorry. Chair, let me move. Chair, let me move on my bill. Chair, let me move on my bill.
Members, order. The Honorable Dwale, make your contribution. There is nothing out of order. These parties, honorable members, people join parties at their own will. If the Honorable Dwale chooses to leave a party, that is entirely up to his will.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, there are people who are hosting.
The Honorable Wangwe, what is
even the member for Kisumu.
Hold
is
on,
an independent.
The Honorable Dwale, hold on. The Honorable Wangwe, what is out of order?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, is the member in order to state numerically that Jubilee has not more than 30 members? As the whip and the custodian of the records of Jubilee members, it will be very wrong for that to go on record in the House, yet the numbers for Jubilee membership is not 30. Is he correct, Honorable Speaker, to make that kind of statement?
Yes, the Honorable Wangwe is the custodian of the list of Jubilee members. Proceed, the Honorable Dwale.
Chair, with the Honorable Wangwe, I want to confirm that even when he needs my vote and my support, he whips me. And until otherwise, because he's my good friend, I listen to him. But in spirit, I am not. So I am on my way out. So the few minutes I am around, I'm sure which is about 6 months. It depends on how Honorable Wangwe and the leader of majority, who are my friends. Chair, so we are being told to amend Article 90, sub-Article 2A of the Constitution, and further amend Article 35 of the Election Act. Mr. Speaker, from history, political parties, and I can name, political party leaders have been nominating, abusing this system before the advent of the new Constitution at 210. They have been appointing their girlfriends. They have been appointing their relatives. Even today as we speak, Mr. Speaker, sons and daughters and relatives and girlfriends of key political leaders in this country and brothers are serving in the bicameral parliament and in the East Africa community. Mr. Speaker, that is what this current provision is treating. That you must submit your list. That if Honorable Passaris has worked for the party and has a capacity and she has brought resources and votes and she is not your relative and she doesn't want to vie, you must give her the nomination slot. Mr. Speaker, before the submission of the list, before the general election, the leaders and the leadership of political parties cannot play around monkey business because they need the support of everybody. Yes. The moment an election is taking place, a party leader or a party can appoint even their own wives to this house. So there was check and balance. There was a serious check and balance. What will stop William Ruto, Raila Odinga, Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula? Of course, Gideon Moi will not get the numbers. His party is too small. And maybe to appoint their relatives because either they have won the election or they have lost the election and they have the list. But this list is supposed to be nominated, is supposed to be provided 45 days to the election, number one, to provide for the seats available for young people, for the seats available for people with disability, for seats available for marginalized groups, for seats available for workers. Mr. Speaker, that's why you see the son of Kalonzo Musyoka in the East Africa Assembly. How does the son of Kalonzo Musyoka qualifies to be a member of the East Africa community? How does the brother of my good friend, my party leader, former party leader, Oburu Odinga, qualifies to be in the East Africa community on an election? How does Beth Mogo qualifies to be in the Senate? Mr. Speaker, there are many. So this was querying. What Honorable Florence Mutua is trying to do is that somebody will compete with Elisha Odhiambo in game. The people of game have rejected him or her, and then you bring him back to this house through the back door. That is what this amendment is saying. If you choose to compete and you lose, you stay out. If you choose to compete, so you tell your girlfriend, go compete, but when you lose, I will nominate you because I'm the party leader or I'm the SG. I want to ask this House, let us not kill the spirit and the word of the 210 Constitution. Let us not patronize politics. Let us not make politics a preserve of the elite. We want a lady who is in Busia, who works for ODM from morning to evening, or in Garissa, who works for UDA or Jubilee. When the time comes, 45 days to the general election, even as leaders can question. We can question the party leader. The total of people you have nominated, are they a representative of the people of Kenya? Are they representing the gender parity? Are there people with a disability? Mr. Speaker, this law is unconstitutional. It will not see the light of day. It will be challenged in court. And I really want to ask, we oppose it, and anyway, it needs 2/3 majority. Madam Flores Mutua, prepare yourself to raise 2/3 at the second reading when the question will be put. This is not a normal bill. You need to raise 232. And with the number I command in UDA, we will oppose it. We will oppose it. Mark, you don't have 160 members. Let us not allow leaders to use our parties to nominate after general election their girlfriends, their wives, their sons, and their sidekicks. I oppose. I oppose.
Very passionate, Honorable Duale. Before you proceed, the Honorable Abdi Yusuf, member for Kamkunji, you had a point of order. I will give you this opportunity to raise that point of order. The Honorable Yusuf, member for Kamkunji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity. I just wanted to alert the House on the passing of the former veteran politician, George Ndenge. George Ndenge was a progressive politician who has served in various levels in our country. He was a participant in the Lancaster House talks, which helped us attain our independence. And he has also been in the Legico since the 1960s, as well as been a member of parliament in the 1970s and the 1980s. He was the member of parliament for Iveti North. In between, Mr. Ndenge survived a horrible accident in which about 11 members of his families died. And in the 1980s and the 90s, he was active in the campaign for democratic change in our country and served as the member of parliament for the constituency that I represent of Kamkunji. Therefore, I wanted to take this opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to say how saddened I am by his passing on. And I wanted to remember this great politician who has made a major contribution to our country's political activities, to our independence, to our democracy, and many of the rights that we enjoy now. I want to pass my condolences to his family and to the community of Machakos and Kamkunji. I also want to say may he rest in peace. I am deeply saddened by his passing on. We have lost a very important, a strong, visionary, and progressive politician. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to pay this tribute to the late George Ndenge, who was 95 and passed peacefully in Nairobi yesterday. Thank you so much.
Honorable members, I think this is such a moment, this is such a message that requires the exercise of the powers conferred on the Speaker under Section 1 of our standing orders. I therefore direct that we shall stand up and observe 1 minute silence in 1 minute silence in memory of the great Denke. 1 minute silence. Honorable members, we may resume as it. We shall now have contribution from the Honorable Cheruiyot Jesire, member for Baringo. Is she in the house? Yes, the Honorable Jesire.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, sir, I had gone to consult, and Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you for the opportunity, and I want to contribute, Mr. Speaker, by saying I do support this amendment from the word go. And Mr. Speaker, it is unfortunate that we are starting to do contributions in this House aligning to some party lines. It's unfortunate. It's only important that as members of the House, we do contributions based on the knowledge and the amendment or a debate that has been brought to this House. And I want to do my personal contribution that is not aligned to any party. Mr. Speaker, I do support that it is important to really do party list after elections. Because, Mr. Speaker, sir, most of these members who fight, use resources, and support parties, when they fail, they lose a lot in terms of resources, their time wasted, and you cannot call them losers. Because if somebody is second to you, it actually means that you divided votes. And it doesn't mean that the few people or the lesser number from the one that led who vote are useless people. It means that the competition between you and the second runners-up was tight, and otherwise this second person who gets the second position could also by any chance defeat you. It doesn't mean that this person is lesser. To me, Mr. Speaker, sir, I sincerely support that this candidate who is becoming second to the other person be given a chance. The reason being, this person has worked hard for her own self or his own self, even for the party, other than leaving nominations for friends, Mr. Speaker, sir. These nominations that are left for friends, boyfriends and girlfriends and relatives is otherwise not bringing a good picture. So to me, Mr. Speaker, sir, this party list to be done those 21 days after elections, so that these people who have really lost can get to compensate their hearts for the much they have lost by using lost resources, time, and many other things that they have underwent, even social problems that they undergo after elections. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am supporting this amendment, and let people be nominated or given the party list to the party after elections. It is not that we can leave the space for the special groups. that one we cannot compromise because of special groups. We can give some space for special groups and then consider people who have worked hard. Mr. Speaker, sir, at the moment, there are people whom you look at them, you wonder, what was used to actually nominate them? Even when you are running, campaigning, you have never seen them. You have never even heard about them. But when it comes to nominations, they are there in the list. You start asking, who is this? And even elected or nominated in your party. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, unless otherwise stated, this is the way to go. I really support, and thank you, Madam Mheshimiwa Florence, for bringing this amendment. And members, I beg of you that let's not be doing debates in this House aligning to our party lines. It is not healthy. Let's debate soberly. Let's debate objectively so that we can still hold the integrity that were given to us by the people who elected us, the people we represent, other than coming and doing some things that look like divide and rule in the House. Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you so much for that, and I do support.
The Honorable Wangaya Aseka, member for Buisero.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I also rise to support this amendment 19 of 2019 by Honorable Florence Mutua. Honorable Speaker, one, I support it because this amendment will stop what we call party hoppings by politicians in different political parties. Two, this amendment, Mr. Speaker, is also going to encourage competition within political parties. Many politicians will go out, compete. Those who win well will be elected. Those who compete and are well or do present themselves well will be nominated. Three, Mr. Speaker, such will also enable political parties to do what we call thorough vetting after elections. Like us in ANC, Mr. Speaker, you know, we have some members who have been nominated by our party to this House. And immediately after the nominations, like my good friend, Honorable Sotsi, who was nominated by ANC. But after reaching here, is now dining with our political competitors. But if this bill was there before 2017, we would have realized this earlier, and maybe Mr. Sotsi will not be in this House as a nominee of ANC. Lastly, Mr. Speaker, this amendment will also enable parties to present formidable and good candidates. We have seen situations whereby there have been arguments. People nominate girlfriends, people nominate boyfriends, people nominate slay queens. This will give us an ample time as political parties to ensure that those who are being nominated are people of good repute. Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity.
The Honorable Aseka, maybe you could give us an example of a nominee who is a slay queen, but that is debate for another day. The Honorable Ahmed Shabir, member for Kisumu East.
Thank you, Chair. I stand to oppose this nomination, this bill. The reason being, Honorable Speaker, sir, I was in the CKRC, the Constitution Review Commission of Kenya. We sat there for nearly 2 years discussing and with many, many people. We were my number was 407. And we discussed this particular issue. I remember I was in that committee as well. The idea of nomination hitherto has been misused by all political parties without exception. The idea of nomination was to say the spirit of nomination by a political party was to be based upon the strength of that person, what contribution that nominated member would bring in, what was his strength, what would be the added value to the House and to the party and to the whole framework of Parliament. Because there are very many people in this country who do not wish to stand for elections, but have the strength, the inner strength and the knowledge to take this country forward. I want to today talk to you about Amina Abdallah. She was nominated 3 times, and we know what good work she did in this Parliament. There are others also nominated for frivolous reasons. And I think the issue is very important. The idea and the spirit for which this particular law was set out was to say that to the political parties, you know your people. You know the strengths you want. You also know who is going to be standing for the nomination, and you know who is not going to be standing. Assess those people. If you feel that there's a shortage of a particular strength, nominate that person. For argument's sake, and only argument's sake, I don't know. Just argument's sake, the former CJ, not Maraga, the one before him, Matunga, if he's sitting around doing very little, or for argument's sake, some of the luminaries who have done great work in this country, I don't even see why. For argument's sake, we could not have Eliud Kipchoge nominated as a member of Parliament because of the strengths that he brings to this country and what values he might bring to this Parliament. I think that is the basis of this. To allow this nomination, the whole spirit of the nomination is broken. The whole framework is broken. Go to Rwanda, go to Uganda, go to other countries where nomination is on the strength of the person. And then when the person is nominated by the party, he comes in here. Here, there's not meant to be a party. Here, there's meant to be the strength. So if we have an aeronautical engineer or a space engineer, and this country is going into space, and we bring one of the best brains on space engineering, who's a Kenyan, and bring him here, and he participates as a nominated member of Parliament, he raises the strength of this Parliament, he raises the value of this institution and the value of the political party in which he is. I'm an independent member of Parliament, but a strong supporter of Raila Amolo Odinga. And I will not let down ODM either, because that was the party of my birth. But I'm an independent because of the problems that the party nominations had. And that party nominations are being sorted out. We do not want to go backward, and the Constitution is putting together a framework. And I plead to those who feel that this is important, that you cannot dismantle the Constitution just to suit the person. If you have gone for nomination and you are nominated, like the person who stood against me, he was given the nomination, but he lost. So the people decided. This country depends on the will of the people. If you read the first article number 1 of the Constitution, sovereignty is of the people, not of the party. So if the people decide that so-and-so is going to be better than that person is nominated for the party, let it be. And let the party understand.
Elisha, the Honorable Elisha, what is out of order? Just hold on, the Honorable member for Kisumu East. The Honorable Tiambo, member for Game. What is out of order?
With a lot of humility, I think the Honorable Shakil is misdirecting or misreading the point. The point is that the parties, this specific law, the parties are supposed to present their nomination list 45 days before election for people to be nominated. Not for people nominated to compete in election. So that's the import. Thank you.
Proceed, the Honorable Shabir.
I think he misunderstood what I've said. I'd like you to read what it says. The nomination under, it says within 45 days from the date of the election, there's that list. To change to within 21 days after the general election. So the nomination list can come 21 days after. So what we're saying, and what I'm trying to suggest, is that if you are nominated, if your party thinks you have the strength, and they know, they have intelligence, and they know this, then don't go into the nomination. Don't go into the election, because you will lose. And if you lose, and then the party comes and nominates you, that is against the will of the people. So I'm only suggesting that it's not one party, it's every party. And I'm suggesting that the will and the sovereignty of the people is number one. If Kisumu East chose me as an independent, and then for some reason the loser is nominated to come and sit in the same house, how does it look? The loser, if he's a great person, and if he has the ability, he shouldn't have stood in that election, because he knew maybe intelligence said he's not going to make it. But the party must understand that you're taking the creme de la creme to be nominated in the party. And I think that's the best way to say this thing. I therefore suggest that I've sat in the Constitution Review Committee. We have gone through this a number of times, and I think there I can be senior to you, my brother. I've looked at all these things. This is not a party issue. This is not an issue of time. It's an issue of saying, let us abide by the sovereign right of the people, and let the nomination process framework now not be dismantled to suit the whims of somebody. Because last minute nominations 21 days after the election is an open, it's like an auction. The highest bidder will be given this thing. And we know we've been through some of these things. We cannot allow to go back in this. I oppose, Mr. Chair.
The Honorable Nixon Korir, member for Langata. The Honorable member for Game, there is nothing out of order. No.
Thank you.
It is all right. The Honorable Nixon, make your contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to support the constitutional amendment bill that proposes that we amend Article 92A of the Constitution and also align it with the Article 35 of
Just hold on, the Honorable Nixon. The Honorable Kilonzo, member for Yatta. I think you had consulted with me on the issue of the late George Nthenke. I think it will be appropriate for you or any other member to approach the Speaker so that that issue can be raised in the afternoon session so that members can render their commiserations and in memory of the late George Nthenke. Proceed, the Honorable Nixon.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support the amendment, Constitutional Amendment Bill. And I want to say from the onset, Mr. Speaker, what Honorable Frolens is proposing to be amended, there is no part in that amendment that says that nomination should be given to number 2s or number 3s after an election. Mr. Speaker, this amendment is proposing that instead of giving the political parties giving the list 45 days before the election, the political parties should give the list within 21 days after the general election. This, Mr. Speaker, will give political parties an opportunity to be in a better position to decide who to put in the party list, Mr. Speaker, considering the members who have been elected. Because at that particular time, Mr. Speaker, the political parties will actually have a list of members who have been elected, and in terms of balancing, be it regional, be it gender, be it other minority issues, Mr. Speaker, the political parties will be in a better position to make that decision. And Mr. Speaker, a political party, depending on its morality or lack of it, Mr. Speaker, will decide if they want to elect cronies or girlfriend or slay queens, Mr. Speaker. They can put them even 100 days before an election, Mr. Speaker. Even if it is 100 days before an election, if a political party lacks the political morality, they will put their girlfriend even 100 days before election. So that issue should not be, cannot even be sorted, Mr. Speaker. It shouldn't be an issue that if a party list is given after an election, then it will be abused. If a party was to abuse that list, it will abuse it even before a general election. We are complaining, Mr. Speaker, I had members saying some of the members who are nominated are brothers or a girlfriend to some of the members, even as the Constitution is right now. So, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this amendment bill because, to me, Mr. Speaker, this amendment will give an opportunity to political parties to make informed decisions after an election. Mr. Speaker, also, this amendment will also push political parties to support, for example, women who are vied for position, knowing that if more women are elected, then in terms of the party list that they'll be giving after election, there'll be a deficit that requires even more men to be nominated, Mr. Speaker. So men will also support women in election, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the bill, Mr. Speaker, the bill of proposing that we give the party list, the amendment bill that proposed that we give the party list 21 days after nomination is also advantageous in terms of we will get to know the members that give much contribution to political parties. If you give the list 45 days to the election, Mr. Speaker, that means if a member is gazetted that they are in the list, then they will stop contributing to political parties. But if the list is given after the election, then members who are supporting political parties will make contribution until the election day because they know the list will be given after election. And there is no better contribution, Mr. Speaker, than participating in the actual election. And it is not a crime, Mr. Speaker, that when you vie for a political position, that after you vie, then it is, and you become number 2, number 3, number 4, then that you are supposed to be disqualified because you are vied. In fact, political parties should give more support to members who have actually tried and vied. Mr. Speaker, I want to support it, and I hope, Mr. Speaker, no one will mislead this House that in this proposed amendment, it is saying that number 2s or number 3s in election position should be the one given nomination. And who knows, Mr. Speaker, we are here today. Tomorrow you can be number 2 and number 3, and you also wish to be nominated. It will be wrong to have a law that bars anyone who has vied from nomination, Mr. Speaker. I support.
The Honorable Passaris, Rosanna, member for Nairobi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand to support the constitutional amendment, the Constitution of Kenya Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 19 of 2019, brought by the Honorable Florence Mutua. Mr. Speaker, as I stand here, I support that the party list should be given after the elections. And I also want to tell, first of all, I want to commend my colleague from Nairobi, Nixon Korir, for everything that he said. He actually took a position based on the amendment, based on the need to have more women in parliament. And I also like the way he ended when he said, we will reach a point where we don't have to say girlfriends, we will say more men. You know, it is really a shame that we've made nominations look like it's an award. We call women slay queens, flower girls, girlfriends. This is the problem with lack of gender balance, where you don't have enough women, so you look down on the other gender. If we have the party list given after the elections, we avoid what we're trying to achieve with the BBI. The winner takes it all. This country has seen elections become competitions that actually lead to death of your constituents. death of innocent people, maiming of people, insults and hatred. If Honorable Shebesh were nominated to this House after I won the woman rep position, I would have welcomed her properly because we conducted elections in a civil manner. We were not enemies. We were two women looking to serve a county with a lot of passion for this county, with a lot of love for this county. The reason why the president, in his wisdom, came up with the position of CAS, which actually ended up giving Shebesh a position, was because the party lists being given 45 days before the election, right, ends up omitting people that should probably and most likely be in this House. We have a lot of people that lose elections. And you know, when Honorable Shakir was speaking here, and he was saying that the person who contested against him should have known better, should have known that he shouldn't have contested because he shouldn't have won. No, we go into elections to choose the best leader. Sometimes it might not have been a free and fair election. Sometimes there could have been bribery. Sometimes the best person did not get that job. And the people who also elected the one who did not win, are they not Kenyans? So if you have an election where you have 100,000 people, 51,000 people elected one person, and that person comes to the House. What about the 49,000 people? They also would require representation. They're also Kenyans. They chose someone else. They want that someone else also to lead them. So when we come up with this amendment, we allow number 2 to come to the House. And then when they come to the House, each one has their position. They are members of parliament. One will have the position to serve the constituency with the budgets given the Constituency Development Fund. The one who is nominated will come here and also serve the same people. So when you say that you do not want the amendment, the list of nominated members to come after 21 days, it's because you do not feel that the people who did not vote for you also need representation. I know that when we become leaders and we're elected, we represent everyone. But this country is politically divided in such a negative way. And I really sincerely hope that one day we will combine a proper presidential system with the parliamentary system. The idea of the BBI is to bring a parliamentary system where the winner takes it all does not work. I've just come from Greece. I'm a member of the World Hellenic Interparliamentarian Association. And we were welcomed by the President of Greece as members of parliament from across the globe to look at how Greece is managing its affairs. And when I was there, the leader of the opposition was the previous Prime Minister. The Prime Minister was also there. The two of them were in the same house. They actually look at what is good for the country. It is not about you. It is not about you, the leader. It is about the country and the people that we serve. And what better way, when this country we've seen for all the elections from 2007 to date, we run divided, 50% one this, 50% one the other. It will be so lovely that after elections, we all get to the various houses and we come to serve the people. When we do that, Kenya will be able to achieve the dreams of our forefathers for prosperity for this nation. Not everything is about politics. Not everything is about division. It is unity that will bring this country where we want it to be. Mr. Speaker, I support the amendment. I believe that the parties will make the wise decision of ensuring that the right people that deserve to be in this House, whether you're number 2 or number 3, PWD, youth, or women. And I would long for the day that we will be sitting here and saying, we want to see the boyfriends, not the girlfriends. Also, we have questions about the boyfriends that are coming into the House rather than the girlfriends all the time. And we also need to find a term for the men who call us slay queens and flower girls, because I think there comes a time that you have to give up all these terminologies that you have and respect every member of parliament as a member of parliament. Address us as women leaders, not slay queens, flower girls, or whatever else you come up with, because we are all elected leaders, and let us set an example. If we want to set an example, let us set an example of unity, an example of prosperity, an example of hard work, so that we all know that even the person who worked very hard to become and never got number 1 can be here. I myself have no problem if this House had Honorable Shebesh here. She would have held my hands, taught me the way. And I'm very proud of the fact that there was a position created because she's a good leader. And there was a position created for her and the many others who did not make it in the election because leadership requires that we embrace each other. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I support.
Well spoken. An election should never be a war. Elections are basically for people to choose. And the people who present themselves for elections are qualified and they are proper Kenyans. So it is not a question of if you are number 2 or number 3 or whatever it is, that you are a lesser being. It is just that there's a position for only one. The Honorable Wahungu Wamalwa, member for Kiminini.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this opportunity. And I want to thank Honorable Florence Mutua for this wonderful constitutional amendment bill. Mr. Speaker, we must go through the memory lane. Why was this amendment introduced in the first place? And this amendment initially was introduced, Mr. Speaker, to deter those presidential candidates who are not serious, whereby they declare that they are going for presidency with the intention, Mr. Speaker, of targeting a lower position. Mr. Speaker, we must be looking at the benefits. Why should their nomination list, party list, be presented 45 days to elections vis-a-vis after? And I want to explain. I was not around when Honorable Mutua was moving this bill. One of the things, Mr. Speaker, we've had a lot of court cases from the party list. Because when you send a party list, you are not sure how many slots you are going to be awarded by IBC. Because it's before. But when you are given an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to present the party list afterwards, you'll have known the exact number. If it's ODM or Ford Kenya, if you're presenting the nomination list, you will be told from the way you have behaved or performed in this general election, you've won 26. Therefore, it goes without saying that you are rewarded 2 slots for purposes of nomination. So the party will nominate specifically 2 slots. Honorable Jennifer Shamala is a case here. She was nominated here, and the matter went to court because there was number 1, number 2, number 3 on the list. You are just doing like fishing expedition. But when you present the list after elections, Mr. Speaker, you will know the specifics. That as ODM or as Ford Kenya, I only have 1 slot instead of 2 or 3. That is one benefit. Okay? So the issues of going to court, wherever, will be something of the past. Secondly, when you read Article 90, Mr. Speaker, it clearly says that these political parties that nominate, not independent parties. Article 38 of the Constitution under the Bill of Rights, Mr. Speaker, every Kenyan has a right to join a political party of choice. So if you're an independent candidate like Honorable Shabir, you decided you have no option to nominate. But as a political party, there are efforts you put in place. To register a political party, there's so much that you go through. And that's why under Article 90, Mr. Speaker, it is the political parties that nominate. And for you to nominate somebody in a party, Mr. Speaker, it is about rewarding performance. We have something in the political parties party called party loyalty. If you nominate someone in advance, Mr. Speaker, is away, is on the list, there will not be party discipline. He can decide to go his way, Mr. Speaker. You know how difficult it is to remove someone from this parliament as a result of party discipline. Many people have tried. ODM tried, they failed. So it is important, Mr. Speaker, that you will measure somebody's performance, you will measure somebody's party discipline, then you are assured the role this person has contributed to the success of your political party. And that's why it clearly says that a political party will be given seats to nominate proportionately, depending on how many seats you've won. If you've won many seats, you'll be given more seats to nominate proportionately. And it should reward the people who contributed in terms of getting those positions. How will you measure somebody's performance, Mr. Speaker, if the results are not yet out? Until the results are out is when you'll see the value that so-and-so has contributed from that particular county. I heard yesterday night Governor Kingi talking about of how much he contributed in terms of the performance of ODM in Kilifi. Because after the results came out, you can measure somebody's performance. There is a professor, Mr. Speaker, Professor Emeritus, Professor Victor Vroom, the theory of expectance and motivation. Where this professor talks of issues of instrumentality, that you reward someone based on the performance, what you bring on board. So, Mr. Speaker, it is important that we should amend this. It's not an issue of slay queen or boyfriends, no. We are saying, let's nominate after elections. You'll have measured somebody's performance. I've talked about the issues of party discipline. Some people, once they know they're on the list, elections come, somebody has relocated, has gone somewhere. This is about the discipline in the party. And that's why it adds value for someone to be nominated after the elections. Mr. Speaker, about the two-thirds gender rule. I wish Honorable Dwale was here. We've tried to get the two-thirds gender rule, Mr. Speaker. It's been a problem. And in one of the recommendations, Mr. Speaker, we said, the two-thirds, we are saying, the position should not just be given for women for the sake of it. Let's reward the women who have put effort in place, have tried to run for these seats, Mr. Speaker. And I remember, we worked on this bill with the former member of parliament for Nyeri, Nyokabi. And you are saying, these seats should not just be given for the women for free. Let's look at the women for purposes of two-thirds gender, a woman who has put some effort in trying to come to parliament, Mr. Speaker. So it will also be a good way of trying to reward the women who have put effort in place in winning these seats. And we had proposed earlier on that positions should be given to the best winner, women. So this bill is coming to sort out so many problems, Mr. Speaker. Rewarding those who have tried and also helping in solving the problem of the two-thirds gender rule, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to demystify the issue of saying that we are going to replace slave queens. No. Or to put in place boyfriends. No. If somebody has made an effort, and let's say he was number 2, why should he not be nominated? Again, Mr. Speaker, in this House, we have very good legislators. The ranking members, some of us had wished Mother Karua was in this House. Because before we came here, we could see how she contributed in the quality of debate. But unfortunately, she's not here. But on such an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, you can nominate someone because of the value that is going to add as far as the debate of this floor of the House is concerned. With such an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, you can actually nominate. When we've been talking about the issues of inclusivity, and I've heard His Excellency the President saying that if you won by these millions, and Raila Odinga won by these millions, instead of this person wallowing somewhere, we'll have an opportunity to come and add value as far as this floor is concerned. So this bill, Mr. Speaker, I'm urging honorable members, when a bill comes on this floor, it ceases to be an issue of political inclinations. We must debate objectively, Mr. Speaker, for the sake of value addition. If you are lucky today, tomorrow it will not be the same. So I'm humbly requesting the honorable members who are here that we support this bill. This bill, Mr. Speaker, if you read it carefully, under Article 97, it is going to help with the National Assembly, where people will be nominated of the special interest. Even we have the disabled people who have been contesting, Mr. Speaker. When you go to Mumias, there's an honorable member who was a former senator who was nominated. She went and contested for the seat of an MCA in Mumias. And this lady, she's won. It does not matter, or it does not mean that if you are disabled, Mr. Speaker, you cannot run for the position. That will be taken care of as far as special interest is concerned. When it comes to the Senate, Mr. Speaker, under Article 98, the Senate, the 16 women, in fact, will be eliminating the issue of slave queens, because people will not just nominate anyone. They'll only nominate those people who have added value and those people who have attempted, Mr. Speaker, to contest for the seats, and if you are giving the second best. The criteria of the 16 women going to the Senate, Mr. Speaker, it's been questionable. Some of them go there, their value addition has been a problem. But when you wait afterwards, and you've seen the women that put a deliberate effort, Mr. Speaker, they can be rewarded. Come to Article 177, because this amendment, Mr. Speaker, if it does not touch on 177, we should even amend it further. Under Article 177 is about the county assembly, Mr. Speaker, and I think it should be involved. The county assembly, Mr. Speaker, it is good. Under 177, the nomination has been coming, you push it, but now they look at the issue of balancing the two-thirds gender. So we should be able to harmonize in the National Assembly, in the Senate, and in the county assembly. But I want to thank Honorable Flores. You know, to bring up, Mr. Speaker, a constitutional amendment bill, it needs a lot of effort, a lot of public participation. So that I'm requesting the honorable members that we support this bill, and the time of...
Yes, give Honorable Chris 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, we'll encourage honorable members to come here as many as possible. When I brought an amendment to change the election date, Mr. Speaker, from August to December, many people were opposing because of party lines. But afterwards, they came back to me telling me, Mheshimiwa, bring back that bill, we're being misled. So I want to tell the honorable members that don't be misled. This bill, we are trying to debate, to legislate in terms of posterity, and on that day, I humbly request honorable members to come as many as possible so that you can achieve the two-thirds majority, and I thank you and I support.
Very well. The Honorable who look for order, member for Isiolo North.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this proposed amendment. Mr. Speaker, I oppose this amendment. Mr. Speaker, yes, I oppose. I think the framers of the Constitution had valid reason why what we are proposing to amend now was put in the current Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I have listened to members who have spoken to this proposed amendment. There are merits to the proposed amendment, but also the law as it is today also has a reason. Mr. Speaker, when the list is submitted before elections, the voters have opportunity to look at the list and sometimes decide on the basis of that list not to support a particular political party or support it.
The Honorable Chris Wamalo, what is out of order?
Member in order, Mr. Speaker, to mislead the House by saying that that list, the voters have an opportunity to look at it. This list, Mr. Speaker, I don't think the voters contribute in any way. It is not there. So you should not mislead and say the voters will decide when they see the list.
Mr. Speaker, all Kenyans have right to information, public information. They are gazetted.
The Honorable order proceed.
Yes. Yeah, I think, Mr. Speaker, it's important that we oppose, we retain the law that regulates the submission of the party list as it is. If the parties are serious, and in the past, actually, most political parties have expressed seriousness in terms of submitting lists which have ended up being nominated to this House, and they have added value both to parties and also to National Assembly and also the county assemblies. We have cases like Justice Njoki Ndungu. We know her track records, what she has left behind. We have Senator Sakaja, when he was nominated by TNA, the kind of contribution he has made in terms of legislation for the specific interest group he was representing, which was youth then. Amina Abdallah has been mentioned, and so on and so forth. The intention, for listening to my colleagues who are supporting this amendment, I think the intention seems to be to reward those who have contested and lost. I don't think it is right. If I've contested and lost before, and I would have declined if any party offered me nomination after I have lost. It's not right. And ideally, if you contest in a specific geographical constituency. It could be a constituency in any counties in the north, in Nairobi, in Western, and so on and so forth. But ideally, a nomination is supposed to take care of people who are not able to win, but they have special knowledge, special skills, and they have passionately served their parties. And the parties have recognized their professional service to the parties, and as a result of that, they have been suggested and they have been put on the party list. If we go by what is proposed, that is what we are going to lose. And it's on the basis of this that I oppose this amendment. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Rosa Boyu, member for Kisumu.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for this opportunity. And right from the onset, I'd like to say that I support the Constitutional Amendment number 19 of 2019. Mr. Speaker, the sole reason why the initial amendment was made was because of fairness. Mr. Speaker, many times nomination slots were decided upon by individuals without any criteria or without any rationale. Nobody can open it. And that was fair then. But, Mr. Speaker, from experience, it has turned out that that effort has locked out very many capable people who could have been nominated or who ought to have been nominated. Mr. Speaker, we know that nominations target women, target youth, target people living with disability because they are considered to be the vulnerable group in terms of an election contest. Mr. Speaker, I speak from experience. In 2007, I contested for the seat of Kisumu Town West and had a real fight, political fight, Mr. Speaker, with my colleague, Honorable Olago Alwoj. Despite the fact that I got thousands of votes, when the nomination list was out, I was not considered for that, despite the fact that I put up a strong political contest and showed that indeed I could be a strong politician. Mr. Speaker, in 2013, I contested for the seat of MP in Kisumu West constituency, again against my colleague, Honorable Olago Alwoj. Between the two of us, there was a difference of 900 votes. Mr. Speaker, I didn't make my way to this parliament because the list had already been given in advance. Mr. Speaker, my whole point is, election is a political contest, and we have strong people amongst the vulnerable groups who need to be brought up, who put up very good shows in the contest, but do not find their way into parliament. Mr. Speaker, I support this amendment because if the list comes after the elections, there will be due consideration of those strong candidates who have shown that they are politically capable to represent or to be representatives of the people in this House. Mr. Speaker, when you do give a list after the elections, the party is in a position to actually look at the members who have been elected on their ticket and to identify any gaps or any strengths that might be missing from those membership. Mr. Speaker, the party then has an opportunity to say, for example, that I need a lawyer, and out of all my elected members, I do not have a lawyer. And they have an opportunity to nominate a lawyer so that a lawyer can be part of its representation in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, if the list is given before elections, the party will not have such an opportunity. Mr. Speaker, my good friend talked about the 2/3 gender rule. We know that this Parliament has grappled with the 2/3 gender rule for a long time, and it has not been successful. And we know that the opposition has mainly come up from members who felt that we should do away with tokenism. Mr. Speaker, if we do nominations after elections or provide the list after elections, we'll be able to pick up or to pick out those members who are best losers or who have gotten a certain percentage of votes to also be included in Parliament. Mr. Speaker, what this does is when you nominate a strong person, she's able or he's able to learn the ropes of where she might not have succeeded, and in the next contest, be able to win, thereby bridging the gap between the male and the female members and helping Parliament actually achieve the 2/3 gender rule. Mr. Speaker, somebody actually said that if we have the list given after elections, that we will be dealing with the issue of allegiance to parties. Mr. Speaker, that is not what this bill seeks to do. Because whether you nominate a member before elections or nominate a member after elections, whether that member decides to be loyal to the party or not does not depend on this bill. That is a personal choice. Mr. Speaker, I only wish that this bill could have gone a step further and actually stipulated or specified that in the list of nominees that would come after the elections, the people who should be first considered are those vulnerable members who have put their best foot forward and are best losers. Mr. Speaker, otherwise, I support this bill, and I want to thank Honorable Mutua for coming up with a bill for discussion in Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Buyu, it is true you put up a good fight in Kisumu. I was witness to your campaigns in Kisumu. It was something to behold. The Honorable Oyula Maero, member for Butula.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also contribute to this amendment bill. Mr. Speaker, I want to start by congratulating Honorable Mutua for coming up with this amendment, which I believe is timely. Mr. Speaker, this amendment talks about timing. It does not talk about who are going to be nominated. It is talking about timing when the nomination lists should be forwarded by the party. So, Mr. Speaker, all we need to do is to look at the merits and demerits of the timing. Mr. Speaker, I support this because submission of lists after the elections will enable the parties to identify the rightful people who can be nominated by the party supporters, those who have contributed seriously to the success of the party. Mr. Speaker, nominations before the election brings in even those people, the people who will deceive the party machinery that they are with the party, yet they just came in for the purpose of getting nomination. So, Mr. Speaker, nomination after the election should be preferred to nomination before the elections. So, Mr. Speaker, I think when we are discussing this, we should be concentrating on the timing, not who are going to be nominated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honorable Barasa Mutua, member for Kimilili.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, for giving me this opportunity also to contribute to this amendment. I have listened to very many members who are supporting this amendment, but Honorable Speaker, I am not persuaded that these amendments will provide any value that is of public interest, because those who are saying that people will participate in elections and lose, and that their way must be found so that they can be able to come into this House. Honorable Speaker, I want to remind them that the list of potential nominees is forwarded to IEBC by political parties. And those political parties have an opportunity to do so after their party primaries. They can decide to forward the names of those people who will be number 2 in their party primaries for considerations for nomination, Honorable Speaker. And IEBC has given political parties a leeway to nominate maximum number of people, of course, in a particular order of priority, so that depending on how they will perform in the general elections, they will not be short of the people to nominate. So that was already cured in our existing laws, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, when you look at the way our 2010 Constitution was was drafted, Honorable Speaker, there were a lot of meetings, a lot of engagements, and that idea to make sure that a list of the people to be nominated is forwarded to IEBC before elections was a well-thought idea. There were very many benefits to it, Honorable Speaker, but the content of these proposed amendments, I think they are not well thought, and they can really water down the very benefits that we enjoy as a country by forwarding the names before general election, Honorable Speaker. With the view of those party leaders whom my very good friend and my nephew, Honorable Chris Omalwa, talked about, that this House might miss from their very good expertise, distinguished citizens like Honorable Martha Karua, like Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. Honorable Speaker, they have an opportunity to convene their party parliamentary group meetings, go through the various bills and proposals before this House, and make their contributions through their membership, Honorable Speaker. This House has an opportunity to tap into the intelligence of any Kenyan when it comes to public participation, Honorable Speaker, and even any Kenyan can petition this House to pronounce itself on a matter, to amend a particular law, so there is nobody who will be fined out, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, Kenya as a country, you cannot tell me that it can be short of people who are intelligent enough, people who will make good contributions at the point of, before general election, that can only be made possible after general election, Honorable Speaker. We live in a country where for you to come into this House, Kenyans must bring you here. This is a House of representatives. We represent Kenyans, we represent people. Even those who are nominated, Honorable Speaker, they represent special interest groups. So if the people of Kimilili constituency will decide that I am not a good representative and they replace me with somebody else, Honorable Speaker, there is no problem. If I am still resourceful, the government can accommodate me elsewhere, either minister, either CAS, either principal secretary, if I qualify, Honorable Speaker. So I am opposing these amendments. This amendment is not drafted in the general interest of the general public. It seems that it is going to provide a landing for certain individuals in the name of party leaders. And the reason as to why the drafters of the Constitution said that the list should be forwarded to IEBC before general election is to stamp out jokers. If you know you cannot win an election as a president, then don't try. And they find out, you find another route to come to this House, so that we leave the positions of running for presidency to serious people. If you are not serious, a serious presidential candidate, you can run for MCA, you can run for member of parliament, you can run for a senator, but your heart cannot be to occupy the State House, and then you're also coveting that you can come back to this House through a nomination, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the law the way it is now, it makes the process of coming up with a list to be forwarded to IEBC a bit competitive in a good way, in a manner that will add value. You know, competition breeds value, Honorable Speaker, because you will have time to sit down and analyze the potential people that you will put in the party list, Honorable Speaker. But after the general election, the competition will not be healthy. It will be for those people of the ruling class within a particular party, because we'll have a number of members of parliament who will have lost. We may have senior leaders of that party who could have lost an election, Honorable Speaker, and they will want to put themselves on the list on that nomination list, Honorable Speaker. So for us to cure that element of patriotism, that element of taking advantage conflict of interest, taking advantage of the position you hold in the party to decide who makes it to the list of nomination of a speaker, is to ensure that these proposed amendments doesn't see light of the day, Honorable Speaker. But I really want to thank the Honorable Florence Mutua and challenge other members of Parliament who are here that you don't have to spend too much money in the name of BBI and changing all raft of laws. We can simply better this existing constitution by piecemeal constitutional amendments like this one, Honorable Speaker, and that so that we can move forward as a country, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I really want to ask members that laws are made for posterity, not for an individual. So if you look at the intentions of the drafters of the Constitution, especially on this Article 90 and subsection Section 35, they had very good intentions. They actually cured so many problems, which these proposed amendments will water down. These proposed amendments will open another can of worms, Honorable Speaker, that we will see a situation where after general elections, a few individuals will not have time. They will sit somewhere. They will try to cook and come up with a list which will not be well thought, to be with a view of actually, providing a soft landing for those who will have lost in the general elections. The argument of some members that we have very good people whom after the general election become number two, and there are way in front of them to be here, doesn't hold any water, Honorable Speaker. Like I said when I began opposing this bill, is that the powers to the responsibility of forwarding the names to IEBC lies in the hands of a party, and that party has an opportunity to do so after their party primaries. A party that wins an election has got no business with how the other party of a second best will find a way for that kind of a person, Honorable Speaker. So we should maintain the law the way it is now, and we should also come out in large numbers during voting to shoot down this bill, if not absconding, Honorable Speaker, to deny them quorum, and we will do so because this constitutional amendment is not guided by the common good of the whole country, but maybe it's guided by certain parties who feel that their party leaders are out of this house and that a way must be found for them to come here, but because of their own poor internal party organs, party systems, they cannot hold parliamentary group meetings to be able to discuss any matter that is before to this house, and that they cannot be able to sneak their interest into this house through their membership of their party, Honorable Speaker. We are not going to assist them tap into the intelligence of their party leader if it's a good person. You only have one way to ensure that the party leaders will always convene meaningful parliamentary group meetings to discuss bills, to originate bills, to improve bills, Honorable Speaker. But if they continue sleeping, let them continue sleeping. This country would not have a shortage of intelligent people who can pick up these nominations, Honorable Speaker. With those very many remarks, I oppose these amendments.
The Honorable Anyonyi Kevin, member for Kwanza.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for the chance. I want to take this opportunity to thank Honorable Florence Mutua for coming up with this amendment. And the reality, Mr. Speaker, is that after the election, depending on how the party has performed, will then be given the slot. If you have more than maybe 10, 20, 30, depending, then they're given you the slot to fill. And the party sits down and look at the shortfalls of the requirement in the party. Maybe those who have gone through could be, they don't have a lawyer or something like that, somebody technical. So that's the time now, the party sits down and look at those who have, one, contributed to the party, two, the reality of those, not necessarily that he has contested, But during the this is a reality, members of parliament. This is a reality. So much. He's very loyal. Then they look at that and then they say, look, now this Mr. X or Mrs. X comes in, and then depending on the slot, this is a reality. And ask me, because I'm a ranking member, and I can tell you, Mr. Speaker, I started contesting years back, and I lost 3 times. As one time, I beat a minister. I don't want to name it here. I beat him hands down. And then I was called by the party. Now look, because a minister has been contributing, has been doing this and that, leave it to this particular minister to be nominated, and for you, you can be given something else. So that depending on the reality on the ground, depending on what the party has come up with. So then the party knows there's maybe they don't have somebody who can do the PR, so that can be nominated to help the party do whatever it can be done. Secondly, how many people? Not that you will nominate everybody else, not necessarily that you may stand on for the Kenya ticket and you lose to Jubilee. Contribution, it could be contribution in terms of ideas. It could be contribution in terms of mobilization of people for your party. It could be contribution in terms of finances. That's what I'm talking about. And then of course there's this loyalty. Some people come in because they know your party is and they're not loyal. So I think this amendment is timely, and given the 21 days, so you don't have to take too long to be able to come up with a list and what have you. So 21 days after the election, from my own experience, I think is quite adequate. And then the party can be able to sit down and come up with a list and then forward it to the political party. Secondly, and lastly, the 2/3 gender rule, again, we look at it and see, look, maybe there are more ladies who have contested in that particular, and I know there are many, so then you look at we feel it is putting in the men. If there are more men in the party that have been elected, you look at the ladies so that you can balance out. That's what it means. So I don't understand why we should, this actually amendment should be passed yesterday so that it can be able to move forward, and this is actually an eye-opener to the parties. Because I've had cases where, for example, and I quite agree, in my own party even, for the Kenya, we had people who are nominated down in the county and what have you, and they did not deserve, just because their relatives do whatever. And that this, again, is something that could one day be able to scrutinize and look at the list and say, look, no, so and so, no, so and so should not be put there because he's maybe related to one of the top officials of the party. So I think I want to agree with the party, with this proposed amendment, and therefore, let's actually have these 21 days after the election, so can be able to look at each one of the people that has contributed to the party and be able to nominate him whatever. Not necessarily that because he, as I was told about the case in Kisumu, I quite agree. You know, she's very useful. I've seen her. She could have been nominated at that time. No problem. So depending on the ability of a candidate, depending on the ability of a person, the party should be able to reward. Not because necessarily that he contributed money in that case. With those few remarks, I support this amendment bill and look forward to us passing it. Thank you.
The Honorable Elisha, member for Game.
To make my contribution. From the onset, let me say that I think I congratulate Florence for creating this conversation. However, I don't agree with the amendment. The moral question that we should pose to members of parliament is, are we here for self-preservation? Or this house is meant to nurture and build Kenyan young leaders? Majority of members are here who want to vie as governors. Some want to vie as senators. And they're looking at this bill as providing a fallback. I think that is the wrong way to do it. If you think you are a woman enough or a man enough, and you're going to vie as a governor, and you have enough resources, please allow other Kenyans in this country to be able to be nominated.
The Honorable Elisha, just hold on. The Honorable Fabian, member for Kanguno, what is out of order?
Honorable Speaker, is the honorable member spiritually enough to have read our mind that we are waiting this bill to go through so that when we lose our election, we get nominated? Is he spiritual enough, or did he come with that understanding that we are just opportunists for the bill? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Proceed, the honorable member for Game.
Well, Speaker, I think he's just inferring without conceptually looking at my contribution. Let me say, we are all aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the Article 90, provides that parties proportionally select members who will then be nominated to come to this August House or to go to the Senate. So the parties have opportunity to profile the competence of members and bring the list 45 days before election, not 21 days after election. I've seen a lot of party leaders here in this country.
The Honorable Elisha, you've been caught up by time. Honorable members, order. This business has a balance of time of 1 hour 22 minutes. The Honorable Elisha, member for Game, will have 8 minutes when the matter is again set down for consideration by the House. Honorable members, and the time being 1 p.m., this House stands adjourned until today, Wednesday, the 11th August 2021 at 2:30 p.m.